afternoon, everyone. It is time for People First University again, online training. Today we're going to talk about choosing a provider. I'm Craig Walker, the director of People First of Ohio. Michael?
I'm Michael Richards. I'm the chapter coordinator for People First Ohio. And today is our last People First training. And today we have a special guest, Ruben Garcia. I'm going to let him tell us a little bit about himself, and then he'll be talking about how to choose a provider. So, Ruben.
Okay, my name's Ruben Garcia. I've been an advocate since I was 11. I started working in the deed. I started getting services in the deed system 38 years ago. Um, I helped make employee council in Lucas County. That's where I was originally from, and I started advocating for the county in '88, and I've been advocating ever since. I'm one of the founding members of People First of Ohio, and I live in Vinton County, so I'm in Vinton County Board of DD.
That's
So I do have
awesome.
so I do have
Well,
experience of advocating.
well, Michael said this is the last, and it's the last for this season. So we'll be back in the fall. It's not like we're just abandoning you all, but we had to save the best for last, right, Ruben?
Yes, that's right. Um,
Sounds good. So today we're going to talk about choosing a provider. I know Ruben's had some experience with choosing a provider, and he came highly recommended by Pete Moore to have this discussion.
okay. Um, do you want me to start when I got started getting services from getting a provider?
Yeah, that would be great.
I started getting services in '95, so it's gonna be 30 years August 1st of this year. I've been in supported living, and first 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 provider I got was an agency called Sunshine Children Incorporated at the time, but they changed their name to something else. Sunshine and something I can't remember, but who was running Sunshine Children Home at the time was Director Martin. So me and him, Director Martin, have a long history together in Lucas County. So when I needed a provider at the time, I knew a couple of friends of mine had Sunshine, and they were looking for a roommate. So I figured, why not? It'd be easier. So I talked to Jim Bell, who was the director of supported living with Sunshine. I knew him very well because my supervisor at the workshop was best friends to him. So I did have connections. So, I asked him, could you service me? And he said, yes. I said, but I said, I have one small request. He said, what's that? I want to interview my staff before I do anything. I just feel that the staff and the person they work with should have a good relationship because we're going to be working together a lot. And the questions I would ask them was, how long have you been working in the field? And some have maybe didn't have no experience, but they wanted to try it. And I and some had like 5 years, 6 years, and some had people with disabilities in their family, so they knew what disability was about. And at the time, big time was self-determination. We were, trying to get advocates, people to speak up. And I asked how they felt, how the people would speak up if there was a problem. Would they have a problem with that? And some said yes, and some said no. So I did have a good relationship, but you got to ask those questions. You Everybody needs to ask those questions because if you don't if you don't know the staff's background, then it's going to be hard to communicate and how to handle the staff. Yes, there's going to be problems at first, but you got to work them out. And if it doesn't work out, it is your right to tell the person who's running your home, who's the staff person that runs the staff, to tell them what's going on so they could fix the problem or maybe remove the person because that person don't fit in your home. Because sometimes staff don't fit in your home because of the personality. Some staff might not work. I mean, they're good staff. I'm not saying they're not, but sometimes the personality doesn't crash together.
It's true.
No, I
So
was,
you asked them about like how long they've been in the field?
yeah.
Okay.
You That was the question I would always ask because I would tell people, and this is what I tell people who get in the field: if you don't like the field, get out of it because you're not going to make a lot of money because you're not going to be rich. And if you're not comfortable in the field and not comfortable being working with people with disability, you shouldn't be in the field. That's how I look
Good
at
point.
things.
Good point.
I mean, I've worked with people that they they couldn't work out. It didn't work out. That's why I think that's why we have so many problems with you know uh, registry, abuse registry, because I think some people think, oh, we're going to get it. This is an easy job. It is not an easy job when you have to deal with people with disabilities, with the different personalities and different disabilities, because you're also dealing with people with disability and mental health. And that's another thing people have to realize, that you deal with people with mental health too.
So, like a lot of the DSPs, good point. They kind of have to be a jack of all trades.
Yes.
Working with somebody with Down syndrome is different than working with somebody who that has spina bifida.
Yeah.
And, there's a wide range of
And you
disabilities. And like you say, then add in mental health.
Yeah, and you also got to realize you got to work with. I know I have a friend who getting services and he's blind, so he has to have a staff who understands that he needs help to see, and he had a hard time finding a staff because they didn't understand.
Interesting.
And you also something I don't know, but I knew at the time when I was in Lucas County, we also helped some deaf people because they had
Hmm.
DD, but they were also deaf. So we had to find somebody who could who we trained them to do sign language because that's the only way they can communicate or write things down.
Absolutely.
So you deal in this field because the DD system deals with all disabilities now. It's not just DD, it's all kinds of disabilities and mental health issues. I remember when the mental health problem category came in, it was in the late 90s. And my concern was, are we going to train our people how to handle the mental health? Because it's a whole different thing. I was I was on DD council when they closed all the mental health places and people landed in the streets. And when they wanted to close our facilities, I've always I remember I told the director at the time, this is not going to happen to our people. We got to have a plan. So I've been around seeing all that stuff, and I try and look at the past history. But going back to the provider, if I worked with Sunshine for 10 years, and then I guess I outgrew them. You call it outgrow them. They couldn't handle my service anymore. So I went to another provider. It's called Ann Grady. Ann Grady. And I knew the people in Ann Grady because I was an advocate, and I knew the guy uh, who was the director of supported living, and his name was uh, Marty Fagan. And I talked to him, and I told him what was going on. And I had two roommates. One of my roommates went with me because he didn't want me to leave him. So I told him I was leaving. He said, "Can I get the same provider?" I said, "Well, you need to talk to your SSA about that because that's you need to tell them what you want. I said, I could help you, but you got to speak up for yourself. I can't, I could support you, but you have to speak up. I cannot, speak for you. And I said, you got to make sure this is what you want. I, I don't want, because I look at this way. You shouldn't force somebody if they don't want something because they're not going to be happy. And so I left Sunshine, but I left in a good, we left in a good rapport. And I still have, I still can, I can call Sunshine and talk to staff because I still have good rapport. I also have good rapport with the Ann Grady. So, if you change providers, I think you should have a good rapport down the line with them because you might go back to them. You never know. But
Exactly.
you should not leave in a hasty stack because I know some people leave their provider and they're mad and they don't want nothing to do with them, and that's not good because you're going to see them out in the community with others, and they might be your friends, and they might be with your friends and stuff. And people would ask me, why did you leave Ann Grady or Sunshine? I would say, because it didn't work out. It didn't work out for me, but it worked out for you. I've never gave anybody, any agency or private agency, a bad rap because it didn't work out for me. It doesn't give me the right to give them, yeah, it didn't work out, and some of the staff didn't work out with me, but it doesn't give me the right to give them a bad rap when it was my choice to leave. And I
Right.
would I would tell people, well, it didn't work out for me, but it might work out for you. And if it don't, then you got other options. I've never gave anybody bad reports. And I would tell them I just had a bad experience and I left it at that.
Hmm.
Because that's what you do. You can't you can't I work, and then after that I work with um um another agency called Abe Conte Home. He was African American guy, and his wife and him started their own business, and so I worked with him until I left Toledo to 2009. But that was my choice. That's when I left to Dayton, Ohio, and now I'm living with my provider named Jeffrey Mitchell. He's a private provider. Me and him have been friends for 20 years. Me and him have been working together for 16 years this year.
Wow.
So I found out that private providers work better for me. It might not work for everybody, but it works better for me because I have, how my schedule is. My schedule could vary. I could have like I have a meeting with you today online. I have a meeting tomorrow, but sometimes I have to go to Columbus or have another meeting because I'm on several committees right now that I serve and stuff. And so my schedule varies back and forth. But the difference with what I do with my providers, I would give them, if I know my schedule for the month, I would give it to them the whole month and say, this is what I need to do. That's what an advocate should do. If they know the schedule or they know when the meetings are, they should give it to the provider so the provider can put it in their schedule or try to arrange stuff. And that's what I try to do with all. Sometimes meetings pop up and you can't control that, but most of the meetings I have, I can control.
Well, that's great. So, what do you think the advantages are? You said that the independent providers seem to work out better for you. What makes that better? Is it the flexibility?
The flexibility, and maybe because me and him are best friends and he knows me, He knows my family. He knows my mother. He knows my sister. Uh, he knows my moods. He's like, okay, he's having a bad day. He's like, okay, this is where he knows, okay, it's time to back off. You know, he'll talk about it when he's ready. You know,
You built that relationship
yeah,
over several years. 16 years, did you say?
yeah,
He's been
16
working with
years.
you?
Yeah, since 2009.
Wow.
But
So
we
are
are,
there advantages of an agency provider?
yeah, I, I like that at first. It advantages you can get with a group. You meet with other people they serve, or you become friends with the person they serve. And I did have a couple friends that had sunshine, and we got together. I mean, I'm not saying it was. I mean, it was good at the time because I didn't know anything about supported living. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know anything about DD until 87 when I got services, because my teacher when I graduated from Rogers High School, I lived at home. So I didn't have I didn't have no inkling or anything, because my parents didn't know anything about the DD system at all. Because that's the problem. People today still don't understand what this program is about. And that's why I try to educate people. And that's what advocates do. We educate. And I
Yeah,
do
I
help.
remember you and I were talking a few weeks ago, and I remember back when you did the Wrights brothers
Yes.
and went all over the state and did trainings on the rights, and that helped so many people learn to speak up. So,
Yeah.
you know, like at one point, agency worked great for you, and there were backups, there were additional people there, and now you may prefer independent because of that flexibility and that relationship. But do you have a backup provider?
Right now, we're working on that.
Okay.
I do have support from from what support person that lives
Hmm.
here. He lives here with us, and he supports when my provider can't do it. He'd do it for he's a support person. He's in
Like
the
natural supports?
yes. I have
Okay.
natural support. I also have natural support with his family. His family natural support. Jeffrey's family's natural support.
Wonderful.
So,
So,
I do have that network, but if I had to get to an agency, I know that I have that support with the county, because the county already said, if you want, if anything happened to Jeffrey, and the, his mother used to be a provider. She was an independent provider, but she's not anymore. But she said if anything happened to Jeffrey, she would get her license back. But I also told her, the county said if I had to get another provider, they would help me get another provider.
okay, so you just go to your SSA and say, "Hey, I need
Yeah,
some support here with finding a provider."
yeah. Or I get the list and call myself. I can do that, because the county board should have a list of providers, and I know that I know Lucas County does, and I know Vinton. I think all boards should have. I'm not sure, but I think all boards should have the list of providers,
Yes.
and if they don't, they should.
I believe that's one of the standards that they have to
Yeah, I
uh,
think.
keep a
I think
list.
you know what? Yeah, it is. If I remember right, it's one of the things that told. It. I was told when I was working with Lucas County, because I was a self-advocate for the whole county from 2002 to 2009. I was hired by John Trunk. I was a private contractor. So I also did that. That was my dream job. So I got to do that for a while.
That's awesome. So are there any other things that you would ask, you would recommend people to ask if they're getting a provider? And when we say
Oh,
provider, it can be a direct support professional, it can be a provider agency for
oh,
vocational habilitation, it can be a lot of different things.
you know what? I just remember something. I would ask them if they had their license to drive because sometimes there was some people didn't have their license.
Oh, okay.
Or I'm one of the nosy ones. I always one time I met this guy I didn't trust, and I talked to the person. I said, do you have a record? You know, a criminal record?" Because he was a little shady, and I didn't trust him. And we found out he never acknowledged it, but he came clean, and I said, "Okay, you can't work with me. If you have a record, I do not want you in my home. We do not want you in our home because you don't need that."
It's important to ask questions because these people are going to
You're
be in your home.
Yeah, and plus you're depending on if something happens to you or you get sick, you're depending on them to help you. They're you're putting you're putting your life in their hands. That's how I look at it. And you have to have that trust. Like I said, it takes a while, but if it doesn't work out, then then you have the right to tell your provider, your agency, even your independent provider, hey, there's something we need to work something out here because that is your right to do that. It is your I've always said it's your service. It's
Right.
your contract. They have to follow your contract. And that there's a problem, then they need to solve the problem.
Sounds good. You know, a couple of the things I thought of in choosing a provider, you'd mentioned, do you get along? You know, do you have the same kind of interests? Those type of things.
Yeah.
There was one instance where I heard that there was an independent provider that was the family reached out to them, but yet they didn't respect the DSP said that they would not respect their cultural differences. And that's very difficult, especially if you have different religious beliefs or if you have certain dietary restrictions because of your religion,
Yeah.
and you want people to respect that.
You I and you also and yeah, uh, I've been lucky. I've been
Yeah,
a lucky one. I they respect they respect my religion. They respect my culture. I mean, I my family, when I had my providers, even in my agency, they would take me to my mother's home. They would stay, the staff would stay, and they would enjoy the Mexican food that my mom made and enjoying because my mom and dad would have family outings and they wanted me to come. So I bring the staff with me. Even my roommates, I would bring my roommates. They enjoyed it.
yeah,
So I mean, you you're right. You have to respect the culture, but you also have to respect the staff's culture too. You can't just
exactly.
it goes both ways. You can't have you can't res- you want the staff to respect you. You need to respect the staff's culture. And I do respect people's cultures because that's what I was brought up. My dad and my mother always say you respect people's culture. They might they might be different, but they're still human beings, and they bleed. My dad said they bleed red blood like everybody else, and they have feelings. So I learned that too over the years that you have to respect. I mean, everybody doesn't have to agree. This is as an advocate, and I think I need to tell everybody as an advocate, you have to have an open mind because everybody has different opinions, but you got to respect their opinions. I might not agree with it, but if we take a vote and I got outvoted, okay, I'll support it, but I don't like the idea, but I'll support it because the group said this is what we want to do. I'm not going to go out and cut everybody down and say this is a bad idea. I would I would support it and be with the group. You have to do that. There's no doubt about it.
It's
I know it.
compromise, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what the problem is today. There's no compromise
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this environment.
So I think one of the things that you pointed out is telling your needs, and what fits the needs better, because we're looking at a wide variety of people looking for providers, and
Yeah,
they may have different toileting or hygiene
yeah.
needs,
Well,
different
another,
transportation needs, those
yeah,
type of things.
and even okay, in my ISP, I'm gonna give you an example. In my ISP, it says Ruben has to have his coffee in the morning. If he don't, he's gonna have a bad day. It's in my ISP.
That's great.
Uh, this is if he doesn't have his coffee, he's gonna have a bad day, and his day is gonna be really gonna start bad, and it's not gonna get any better until he gets his coffee.
Yep.
Or when even in my ISP, if he's upset, he doesn't want to talk about it, walk away, give him 20 minutes, and then he'll come and talk to you about it. You have to put that in your ISP because if you don't, then people don't know how to handle you when you're upset. And that's what I've done. I put stuff in there. And also, it's in there for me to remind myself you have to respect others. You can't just be rude to people. It's in my ISP. I put it in there because I want to remind myself because sometimes I forget.
Good
I'm
point.
human. I'm human. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm a human person and I forget things.
That's awesome. You've given us a lot to consider. Um, I know we've got a few questions here, so were you ready to answer some questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. How about let's start with Letitia. I think she had hers up first.
So, with me and an agency, I would just say that it depends on the person's needs.
Mhm.
Because I am one of them people that cannot use independent providers because if um my provider were to fall off, then I don't have service for that particular day.
Yeah.
So
And
it
it,
depends on the
it
person's needs.
depends on, let me say, it depends on the people. It depends on your needs. And like I said, I did have a couple agencies, but like, I mean, my needs became, when I became an advocate, they couldn't handle the meetings and they had a hard time covering my at the time the staff. They couldn't find staff to take me to the meetings. So I left in a good rapport and said, I understand you're short staff and I get it, but I'm willing to leave, but I'm willing to leave in a good rapport, and that's what I did. You got to do what you got to do for yourself, but you also need to be happy.
Good point. All right, Aaron, do you have a question?
Yes, my question is, if I live on my own and I have a provider, and let's say your provider can a provider, because you have like live on your own, you have all your money with you, and I'm just worried about the virus stealing the money from me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. Well, what you would do, you're controlled with your own finance, right? You're well, do you use credit cards?
Yes.
Okay. You do not give the credit card, or you don't give your bank card to anybody but yourself. You and if you expect if you you think that somebody's stealing from you, you need to report it to your SSA.
Okay, gotcha. 'Cause
I mean,
some people are steering from people.
yeah, I know. Yes, I know. Uh, I know that, and I've always told people, if you expect, but you got to make sure you have enough evidence to make sure, because sometimes it could make it. You don't want to really ruin somebody's job, but you have to have the evidence to you know, if that person is stealing from you.
All right, thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, Eve, do you have a question? See somebody listed as Eve, Aaron Reich.
What did he say on me? That one better? Yeah. What's your name?
My name's Ruben Garcia.
Do you remember me from last time?
Yeah, aren't you? Wasn't you on Deep?
Wait, who put my last name? I didn't put my last name on.
Did you have a question for Ruben?
Yeah, I wonder who put my last name on first, and then I'll ask my question.
It's okay. You can go ahead.
No, I want to know who put my last name on
You
because I didn't put it on.
well, did somebody help you type that in?
No, I did not do it.
Did you use this before? Have you used this before?
I never put my last name before.
Well, we don't know how it got in there.
Maybe you guys
It's okay.
changed it.
Just go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. My question is, if I wait, what are we talking about again? Wait, I have to mute myself. Can I ask my question at the end?
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
All righty. Anybody else have a question for Ruben? Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I have a question for Ruben. When you choose a provider, what other questions that you would like to ask them, if not just the basic questions like have a criminal background, or other questions that we could ask if we want to ask other providers can help us?
Other questions you can ask, um, like, do they do? How, I've always asked my provider when I interviewed them, even an agency, how many, if you have, like, let's say you have a meeting and a couple meetings in the month, how many weeks you got to know, like 3 days, 2 days, because some agencies need to know ahead of time so they can schedule staff for you.
Okay.
uh, that's, if you're an advocate, that's very important. If that's very important. Like what I said earlier, when I had my agency, I knew if I had meetings for the month, I would give them the whole month of meetings, and they knew what days I needed staff to be with me, and not be, they had to make sure that my roommates had staff at home and I had staff to go to my meetings.
Okay.
So that's, you got to make sure of that. Do you live on your own, or you live with roommates?
I live by myself, though, but I do have a provider that comes in every week to help me with some stuff.
Okay. What? See, that helps too, because you're on your own, but you still got to give them notice so they can put it on their schedule, because you got to remember they have lives too. We can't just pick up
Yeah.
and and that's another thing people have to learn, that we have to work with our providers because they also have lives and
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. I got another question for you, Ruben.
Okay.
Is when someone has short staff, what can we do to ask them how we can get more staff for people that needs more staff?
If you need more staff, then you need to talk to your SSA about it, and and
Okay.
and make sure. Okay, you have to talk to your SSA, and they have to look at you get a range of money from your uh, waiver, and you got to make sure you have enough money to get another staff, and if you can't, then they have to try to figure it out for you. If you
Okay.
need if you do need more staff, this is what I do. This is what I did. I would write down why I needed staff, and I would write down what that first staff did, and it was too much for him. That's when they decided, yeah, Ruben does need another staff person. I would write
Okay.
down what staff does, and that's a record for you to keep. But also, when you have your ISP, or you can have an emergency meeting. This is what's going on, and I think I need more staff, and then you guys can sit down and talk about it.
That's a good
Okay.
point because there's difference between wants and needs, correct?
Yep.
I
Yep.
may want to have 12 people in there so we can have a good card game going on and
Yeah.
somebody can be
But,
cooking
but
food and everything, but that's
yeah,
not really my need.
no, that's not your needs. But you also have to look at your range. You have to have your SSA look at your range on your waiver.
What your budget is, exactly.
Yeah.
Jackie is an independent provider and she had a question for you, Ruben.
Sure.
I don't really have a question. I wanted to say, because I've been following along with everything, and that Highland County is actually going to what they call on scene, where all the providers will be listed, and then people will have to go through that in Highland County to go ahead and choose a provider. Um, and I don't know, Ruben, if I know that when I've been doing provider work, that people have been offered to interview like 2 or 3 people at
Yes.
least to see if they can go ahead and they, really want to go ahead and hire that person.
Yes, they do. All counties do. That's one of their requirements they have to do.
A pencil.
And then,
Pencil.
and
Give me pencil.
And then also I wanted to say, I heard about the credit cards and stuff like that. If you have a payee, then they should actually be sitting down with you at least once a month, if not more often, to review your spending.
Yeah, and you're right about that. You're right about that. I had a couple friends that had payees, and we put in their ISP that the PE needed to sit down with them at least once a month, or twice a month, to make sure their budget can cover what they needed.
Exactly. There again, it's the needs and the wants, right?
Yeah, right. And and see, you're one of those providers that I would pick because you care about the finance, and you care about the person's needs. You don't care about, you I could tell that you got compassion, that you want to
Well,
help.
thank
See,
you. I appreciate it.
I could tell, I don't know. I guess because I've been in the system for 38 years, and that you could tell. And if they're, like I tell people when I meet them, I can tell, if you don't like this, you need to get out, because you're not, it doesn't help us. It just makes it worse for everybody. It makes it bad for the good people.
I agree. I totally agree on that. So if you don't have compassion about what you're doing, then you're in the wrong job.
It's the same thing being an advocate. If you're not compassionate about people's needs and wants, then you shouldn't be an advocate. It's not about you. It's about them. It's about the
Yep.
future. It's not. I've told people says you get awards and you don't make a big thing out of it. I don't make a big thing out of it because awards are good, but if you didn't help somebody, it's not good enough.
Correct. Yep.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks. Eve, did you think of your question?
I'm
I
not
thought
gonna mute myself for this round.
No.
Yeah, yeah. You
Did you have
called
a
on me.
question?
Yeah, I don't live by myself, so I live with my mom and my 3 brothers.
do you have a provider that comes in and helps, or is your mom your provider?
My mom helps me.
Okay.
But in school I do one-on-one.
In school, you do one-on-one. Okay. How does that work out for you?
But I'm graduating tomorrow.
You're graduating tomorrow.
High school.
Congratulations.
High school. High school.
That's good.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's a big.
May 29th, which is tomorrow.
Yeah. That's a big deal. I remember when I graduated. It's 40. Yeah, it'll be 40 years in June. I graduated in
What year did you
85.
graduate, Ruben?
85.
Oh, I graduated in 88.
I turned 60 June 3rd, too.
We
My
didn't need to
brother's
bring up
birthday is June 4th.
ages.
Yeah.
My brother's birthday is June 4th.
Yeah, my birthday's June 3rd, and I have a sister's birthday June 4th. I have another brother and sister, their birthdays in June too. I had my family, my mother had 13 children all together.
Oh my
Mine is in
goodness.
November.
Yeah. And we're all a year apart.
We know
Wait,
what you're doing in
but I want to
October.
answer his question though. Wait, can I
What was that,
answer
John?
We know
Ruben's
what there's
question?
doing in October.
Yeah. Yeah, you got that right, John.
Oh my
Can I
goodness.
answer Ruben's question about the one-on-one?
Sure, go
Go.
ahead.
So she does like math with me and reading and science and Hebrew classes and like social studies.
So she helps you out when you need it in class.
Yeah, and her name is Miss Alman.
Okay. That's good. I mean, that's some
And when
people.
I joined the art class, she helped me. Yearbook class, she helped me. Parsa class, she helped me.
Yeah, that some people do need that. I didn't have to have that, but I had friends that needed that, and it helped them a lot. And I'm glad that you got that
When I
help.
was in yearbook class this year, she
Uh,
helped me with my poem
that's good.
and yeah,
Um,
for graduation. I wrote a graduation poem.
that's good. That's good. Um,
But my mom helped me with my speech, my graduation speech. I'm gonna say tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m.
okay. Well, I'm glad for you, and it seems like you got good support, and
Yeah.
you keep doing what you're doing, and
I'll send Isika some videos and pictures and then she can send them to you guys.
okay, that's
Awesome.
fine. That's fine. Okay,
Well, Ruben,
we
I know we're about ready to wrap up here. I know
Oh,
we've gotten a lot of
thank you, Ruben.
information today,
Oh,
and I
yeah,
thank you very much for joining us.
sure, no problem. Anyway,
Ruben was one of the founding members of People First of Ohio.
yeah, and I also made a People First chapter in Toledo.
You did, and it was a huge group.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of help though. I mean, I had the county board, Lucas County Board at the time, and And then I got the Arc of Ohio, Arc of Lucas County. They're not in existence anymore, but I had their
Right.
help. And then when it got too big, I had the Ability Center.
So I have one more question.
Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Aaron.
This is what my friend told me about this. Don't look at yourself as handicapped. Look at yourself as who you are, because God made
Yeah.
us. We are one different in one way.
Yeah.
I don't look like you. You don't look like me. We are one way.
Yep. But you also need to respect all your friends. It doesn't matter what kind of disability or not. I have friends that don't have a disability, but I respect them.
Well, my cousin had this. My cousin is handicapped and he has autism, and
Yeah.
hopefully he has this program in where he should live at.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to respect everybody. It doesn't mean, if you want, this is how my mom and dad always, if you want respect, you need to respect that. You need to respect the people you want them to respect you. So that's what I was taught.
Treat people where you want to be treated.
Yep. That's why I was taught.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, thanks again, Ruben. We sure appreciate it. And it's good to see you again. It's always good to see you. And we thank you for all that you do for advocating on the county board, in the state of Ohio, and even beyond. You're an awesome advocate.
If you guys ever need me, you know what to do, or have John or Kathy Ryder. She knows how to reach me.
Yes, we do.
Ruben, I also want
But
to.
you're part to fault to that, though. You gave us your contact.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so let's not put the blame too much on Kathy Rader.
No,
but you're very helpful in helping out, and I am thankful for your helpfulness.
Me and Kathy are on the same committee anyway. We're on the registry, users registry. So
okay.
So I know how you're doing because I ask once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
You and I keep eyes on each other.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Ruben, I also want to thank you for joining us today.
You sure, no problem.
It was a lot of good information you give us today.
Well, like I said, I'm available when you guys need anything or you guys need another advocate. I know with this trying times today, I'm willing to help.